Hi guys, and welcome back to hinges. I forgot to get some hinges. I'll be back in a minute.
Tractor bouncing up and down on my little red tractor, bouncing up and down on my little red tractor. Do 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 do.
Sorry about that, I forgot to get some hinges. Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we are going to be carrying on work with our beloved Project BedBug. So while you guys have been waiting for a new video to come out, I have been rattling off some bits on BedBug. One of the things I've done is I've cut off the gripper strip at the top here underneath the skylights, and I've just folded this edge over and welded it along. And something I completely forgot about was the driver's side door, so I've dragged that out and I finished off welding a section on the underside here. If you remember, this was the door that we put an internal panel on, and I just needed to add a lower strip here that was no good and rotten. So I've still got a little bit of work to do on this door. I still need to weld on that lower strip just along this edge, but not only that, I need to remove this filler and red oxide kind of guff that's on the front here. So on Project BedBug, to remove all that old paint and all that old filler, I've been using a flap wheel on a grinder. And when using a setup like this, you've got to be pretty careful. BedBug is covered in filler and old paint, so I have a lot of bodywork to do anyway. If the car was straight with only a single layer of paint, I'd be using a DA sander or some paint stripper. So if you're doing a project like Project BedBug and you're stripping off filler, paint, and you're grinding with a flap wheel, you will go through loads of these. And what happens is you start off with a new flap wheel. It's got nice coarse grit on there. It's very flat. And then over time, what happens is they start to glaze around the outside like this here. And eventually they look something like this, where they're totally glazed over and totally useless. And when you end up with a totally useless disc like this one here, it goes in the bin. But recently I came across a hack that I've been really wanting to try out, and apparently I'm able to heat this disc up and make it have a new lease of life. So let's give this hack a go. I'm going to use a blowtorch to heat up the flap wheel on the abrasives, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike it on a piece of metal or hardened surface, and apparently this will wake up this old disc. Well, after heating it up and then striking it on a bit of steel, it actually looks a lot better. It does feel a bit sharper. I mean, maybe I should have applied a little bit more heat, but I'm going to give this a go. So what's the verdict? Well, it does actually work a bit. I mean, this that was on here was pretty poor. It had no kind of efficiency at all, and just waking it up with a bit of heat and striking it on a piece of steel has actually made it work again. I mean, I don't know for how long, and I guess that if you're running out of discs, this is a really, really good hack for you. I mean, it's not as good as a new one, but it does work. So in the last episode, I was concentrating making a opening back cover for BedBug and also the framework around this outside. And then what I was going to do is make some special hinges, something like a U shape, pretty much the same as what you'd get on a bonnet of an ordinary car, where they have a U shape just to clear the scuttle panel. And I was going to install one under here on both sides. But the thing with BedBug, it's always chopping, changing and evolving as it's being built. And the customers decided to go for a more traditional hinge. And so earlier on, I popped to the hardware store to get some hinges, and I have, well, it looks like 3, there's actually 2 in a pack. So I've got 6 hinges in total. And these ones here don't have any special finish on. They're not chrome plated or anything like that, which is great. That means I can paint them easily. So 6 hinges in total is pretty much too overkill for just one bit of bed. But as I said, the plans change, and now the customer would like another section here, so it will have a twin opening bed. So as well as putting some hinges at the back here, another thing I need to address is it's not totally flush. There's a little brace that sits underneath this corner panel here, which I need to drop slightly. But then when I was at the hardware shop, I found these really nice little rubber bumper things here, which I can just screw down onto that brace. So if I can move the brace slightly lower, I can have this bed sat on a little lump of rubber. So as I mentioned before in a previous video, this framework is going to be done in 2 pieces. So I've already made the rear framework, and I've made a start on making the front part of the framework as well. So I was making the framework for the front of BedBug, and my wife and I decided to do our very first live on YouTube. And the live video was very much spare of the moment. It was totally off the cuff. It was the case of my wife just pushed the button on her phone and we started recording, and it was really fun. We got to speak to a lot of you guys about cars and Japanese lifestyle. So doing a live in our eyes was quite a success, and what was meaningful to me was actually engaging with you guys, actually getting to speak to you guys, because when I'm doing these videos, all I'm doing is looking at the comments, but if we're talking and commenting at the same time, a live is really the way to go. So we've decided to do more lives. We're not entirely sure what day we're going to be doing this, and there's also this massive problem with time difference as well. But not to worry, if you are sleeping while we're recording, you can always watch it back. But when it comes to doing a live, it's going to be a little bit more than cars. We'd also like to know more about you guys, and if you guys want to know about things like Japanese culture or any questions about cars or anything like that, we can cover all bases on these lives. So what I've done with the rear framework, I've marked and drilled the areas for the hinges, and I've also cut off these braces which I had welded in here. So these hinges do come with supplied screws. I'm not very happy with it. They do have a sleeve there, but not only that, they are wood screws, so they're not good for the job. So I'm not happy with these screws, so what I'm going to do is just nip back out to the hardware store and pick up some more.
Row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Oh, I put the photo. Beetle なんですよ。ちょっと今手。
いつからこれ作りましたか？この会社。
10年前。
あ、そうですか。
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
We had an amazing burger. How did you even learn to cook like that?
独学ってなんて言うんだろう。
自分
でそうに2年間かけて毎日パン焼いて。
あ、パンも焼きますか？
焼いてます。
She's baking the bread here.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Well, your boyfriend owns the split screen camper. What do you drive?
My car is Cube.
Cube!
Yeah.
Excellent. Nissan Cube.
But 私もマニュアルは運転できるので、I can
You can drive
いえ
manual.
バス
すごい
も乗ります。
珍しいですね、マニュアルの免許日
そうな
本で。
んですよ。
この車どこまで行ってますか、日本の中で。
一番遠くて、
はい。
太田
群馬の
群馬の
That's the furthest it's been.
Oh! Not very far. Not very far yet.
そうちょっと怖いから車高を低くしたんですよ。車高を低くしたら、ダーバーってなるからなんか道路が遠く行くのが難しくなっちゃって。
I think a bit difficult to go on the motorways.
いや、あと夏は暑いし。
そうですよね。
そうするともう運転の途中、川越だ。川越まで行きました。
あ、そうですか。
これ？
はい。そうだ、川越に行って車中泊したんですよ。夜中の間に川越まで行って涼しい間に行ってで車中泊して川越散策して、でも帰ってくるのに暑すぎて高速でもうわーって帰ってきた。冬は手先とか足先がもう
凍っちゃう。
凍っちゃう。
You freeze at frozen hands and feet.
Yeah.
The onion rings were 10 out of 10.
Amazing onion rings ever.
オニオンリングすごく美味しかったです。
ありがとうございます。それも自分で。
すごい
そう
ね。
薄力粉、片栗粉、コンソメ、塩、砂糖、水とか。
すごいね。一番美味しいのかな。今まで食べたの。
本当嬉しいです。
友達が来たらまた来ます。
あ、ぜひ。
ありがとうございました。美味しかったです。どうも。
I don't know how to turn it.
So we just popped to the hardware store and I managed to get some screws to do the hinges. But as well as that, I did want to stop at that little place, the 8-Box Club, just to get some lunch. It's one of those places that I've kept on driving past and I've seen a splitty bus out the front. I've also saw that jacked up jimny, which was crazy. And I've always wanted to stop there and we did. And I'm really happy that we did. Amazing person that runs that place. And those cars are really cool. So what I should be doing now is just carrying on with this rear section, but I tell you what, something that's niggling me, I have those wheels and tyres that have turned up and I would really like to see how they fit on BedBug. So that's the wheels unboxed and this is what we've got. We've got a set of 15-inch Porsche Fuchs style wheels to go onto Project BedBug. And Project BedBug is an early Beetle, so it is fitted with these wide 5 style wheels. You can see there that the bolts are very far apart. But the new wheels that are going on the Porsche stud is 5x130, so they are quite close together. So if you do decide to use something like a Porsche stud wheel on a early Volkswagen, there are a couple of options for you. So the first option, which I consider a better option, is to remove and replace the rear drums with a Porsche drilled rear drum and replace the fronts with Porsche drilled discs. And the other option is use a wheel adapter like this here. It has the wide 5 drillings here, and down on the inside it has the Porsche drilled. But to be honest, using wheel adapters is not my favourite way of doing things, but it is budget. And the other thing, if you use wheel adapters like this, you can see there that there is quite a big gap behind here which kicks the wheel out a little bit more. And on the front of BedBug, we've already narrowed the axle, so what we're doing is we put the wheel further into the arch to bring it back out again. And using those wheel adapters, we will be kicking the rear wheels out ever so slightly as well, and we do have a very close tolerance on this rear wheel arch. So what we're going to have to do is get the wheels on there and let's just see how it looks. So that's the wheels bolted on as a trial fit, and to be honest, I think these wheels really suit the car. So at the back here you can see that the tyre is touching the wheel arch, so I will need to do a bit of fettling on these wheel arches. But that's one of the reasons why I haven't started body working or doing any work on these wheel arches. So I already knew that wheel arch clearance on the back could be a little bit of an issue. But changing the front wheels to these ones here with a lower profile tyre has actually increased the distance behind the headlight bowl. So no clearance problems here. Something you guys may have noticed on the front wheel here, there is some yellow masking fine line tape around these spokes. And this is because the customer would like these to be a two-tone, something like a chrome and a black. So he's just masked those up so I'll know where to paint. So what I've been doing is concentrating my effort on the front section of the bed cover. So after going out and purchasing some screws to do the job, I was then able to secure the hinges on the back here. And what I've also done just here, you can see that I cut the brace out and I've moved it in a slightly different position, and I've drilled it and installed one of these bungs. And these are just generic bungs that I bought from the hardware store, and you can see here on the back there for the bottom of cupboards and tables, so probably good enough for a bed bug. And then what I could do is get on with this front part of the framework. I'd already made these pieces here. It's just a case of welding them in the right place. So BedBug's going to have a rear opening hatch like this, and also a front opening hatch. So with that front section of the framework in place on the car, I could then get on with making the front flap area here. It was just a case of using box sections, some angled steel around the edges. And then what I've done is I've just cut out a steel sheet that will sit over the top, and I'm still going to make a brace for the underside of this. So from the very start, this whole area on the back of the truck has gone through so many changes. I mean, it started off as a kind of tarp, and then it was going to be a one-piece flap that came up, and then it was going to be just one cover at the back. There was even talks about having some metal framework with some kind of tarp over the top of that as well. And at one point there was even a suggestion of installing a small scooter in the back so it could be displayed. And I must admit, having some kind of scooter in the back here when it's on display would look totally mental. But here's the thing, fabricating this rear section here and this front section here and actually strengthening it with box steel and angle line has made it super strong. So in the future, if the customer did want to take this to a show or have it on display, they could still have a small scooter resting actually on the cover. And the thing is with BedBug and custom cars, it's always evolving. The ideas are always changing. I'm really looking forward to what this is going to look like when it's finished. So at this point with the BedBug build, I really feel that I'm kind of getting somewhere with it. But in the same breath, I've still got quite a few bits to rattle off. I still need to finish this front cover here, get it screwed down, make sure it all works, maybe some gas struts, something like that. But now the rear wheels are fitted, I can concentrate on these rear wheel arches. I've done absolutely nothing apart from remove the paint on them. I mean, this here's got a whopping great dent there. I don't know if you can see that. It is huge, but this dent was actually filled over, so I'm pretty certain I can do something with that. I need to clearance this bottom edge here. I may have to even kind of make these slightly flared around this area. I'm not sure yet, but that's something else I need to do as well. And then once I've addressed the clearance issues on the rear wheel arches, I can then go ahead and start looking at what I'm going to do with the running boards here. I mean, the original running boards are going to be too short, and I'll somehow have to make them fit these rear arches. So this video has been a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, you guys have even joined us for lunch on this video, and we went to the hardware store twice as well as getting some work done on BedBug. So I'm going to carry on with that front part of the cover, see if I can start making those braces. Thanks as always for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!